Hey, come.
Your Excellency, Ike Herbert, Aliko, Mr. Dozier, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let me start by saying that when I decided to wear orange today, I didn't know it was Fola Adiola's blood color. But I'm glad to know that that someone has blood the color of my cape, so nice feeling. I have a few words to say. First of all, let me say that, and I know this sounds a bit cliche, but I could be my witness when I finish. I'm not surprised at what we're seeing today. And I'm going to tell you a story that goes back to 2006, 2007. I had been appointed Executive Director, Risk Management in First Bank in 2005. And Financial Control reported to me. And at board meetings, we always had, like all banks, competitive analysis. And at that time, if you remember, we had all these banks, Tier 1 banks, Tier 2 banks, Tier 3 banks, with Tier 1s being First Union, GT, Zenith, and the Tier 2s being banks like Intercontinental, Oceanic, Afribank, and then you had Access, Citi, as Tier 3 banks in terms of asset size and so on. In 2006, I think, I came to the board for my quarterly competitive analysis, and I picked 2 Tier 1 banks, dropped the third, and put Access in there. And I remember, and I don't know if any of my colleagues in First Bank is here, I remember the MD then, Mr. Jakibe, saying, how can you bring Access as competitor to First Bank? And I said, this is the bank to watch. So they asked me why. I said, this bank has the lowest cost-to-income ratio in the industry. It has the fastest rate of growth in assets. It has one of the lowest non-performing loans. It has struck up strategic alliances with FMO and IFC. It was doing things no bank was doing. It had already set up an online car loan application. Half of its branch managers were women. It already had a gender policy. It was talking about ESG long before it became regulatory policy. In other words, it was doing all the things we said we should be doing. Now, the reason I can say this, I know people always say, oh, I knew this, is that I think that was when I started knowing him, had actually heard, it had gone out to them that the chief risk officer in First Bank was saying this about Access. And I've watched Access since 2006. I've watched the bank grow. When I was at the Central Bank, Access Bank was the chairman of the Economic Development Subcommittee of the Bankers Committee. A lot of what we achieved, banking reforms, NERSAL, cashless Nigeria, you name it, was led and driven by Access Bank and its staff. And I watched Access do an acquisition of a bank that was the largest failed bank that we had to deal with after the financial crisis with AMCON. Everyone who looked at that bank ran away. We needed someone to take over that bank. When Ike and Access came, well, I was praying for them to succeed. I needed to get someone to merge with that bank, but I was saying, I hope these guys know what they're swallowing. But they did it. That was a hole, that was a deep, deep, big hole, and they took in that bank and they continued. So having seen Access acquire that bank, I don't see what acquisition they cannot do. So in a sense, and being a First Banker, I'm not saying I'm very happy to see Access grow to the size of First Bank. But in a sense, today, there's this deep sense of personal satisfaction that 12 years ago, I saw in this bank, a bank that was a third-tier bank, a bank that would be the biggest bank in the Nigerian banking industry. And I would like to congratulate Ike and Herbert for what they've done. But I'd also like to congratulate Pascal Dozier, Uzoma, and the colleagues of Uzoma, Diamond, Carol, Anyanwu, and co. for what they've achieved. And to continue to wish Access Bank great success in the years ahead. On a personal note, I'd like to say something about the two people driving Access Bank. People talk about their intelligence, people talk about their hard work, people talk about their vision. But they have one quality that I'm sure all of us who have interacted with them know stands them above, or it stands above all other qualities they have, and that is loyalty. As you know, I get into trouble very often. It always happens to me. I try, no matter how hard I try, I always get into trouble. So people like me tend to know loyalty better than those who don't get into trouble, because you only know who is a loyal friend when you're in trouble. And at every time in my life, when I got into very serious trouble, including when everybody was running away from me for fear of being collateral damage, Ike and Herbert have stood firm. I must say sometimes there has been collateral damage, which I apologize for. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, and I'm sure all your friends will thank you for your loyalty. And I think that is the quality that perhaps has been the driving force behind your success, that everyone you've come across has excellent memories or an excellent opinion of you and prays for you and wishes you well, and we continue to pray for you and to wish you well. I'd like to congratulate you on this feat, and I'm looking forward to the next merger and acquisition, as Aliko said, maybe when you acquire some large international bank, as I'm sure will happen. You're both young men. You have many years ahead of you of active service, and the desire is still there. So I'd like to thank you for the honor of inviting me. I didn't know I was going to speak, although I expected that I would be asked to speak. I've been here. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm honored to be here and to be part of this. Congratulations.